There was a time when Harry Maguire became football's easiest joke. He was not the worst player, certainly not the weakest defender, but he became the easiest target. Every mistake became viral, every touch was questioned, every performance by Harry Maguire was actually laughed at. At one point of time, he became one of the most abused player in the world of football. And slowly but steadily, something dangerous was happening around the entire ecosystem. Because people stopped seeing Harry Maguire as a footballer, they started seeing him as a meme. In fact, I'll go to say they started seeing him as a punch bag. But what if I told you this isn't a story about failure? This is a story about something much more rarer in the world of football. A word which describes Harry Maguire to perfection, and the word is endurance. Let's be honest, Harry Maguire was never supposed to be here. He was not supposed to be, at least in the glamorous sense, because he did not come from a very elite academy in England with the likes of Southampton, West Ham. He was not a prodigal kid. They never labeled him as a wonder kid. He was built. He was built step by step, right from Sheffield United to Hull City to Leicester City, and next, more importantly, his move to Manchester United for £80 million. Even at the 2018 World Cup, he didn't play like a superstar. He played like someone who understood his strengths perfectly. Positioning, aerial threat, timing, and somewhat that's important in the world of football, right? Everyone talks about ball playing centre backs, but very few people talk about centre backs who do the basics right. Because Harry Maguire was never about flair. He was always about control. So when Manchester United decided to pay £80 million for Harry Maguire, they weren't buying a star. They were buying a centre back who was stable. And rightfully, he was compared to then most expensive transfer, which was Virgil van Dijk. And that's when all hell broke loose for Manchester United and Harry Maguire. But here is the problem with Manchester United. It doesn't demand performance. It demands perfection. And for Harry Maguire, it was possibly the worst time he could arrive at Manchester United. Because it was a club in chaos. Managers were changing left, right, centers. Systems were changing, leaders were disappearing like nine pins, and suddenly a quiet, composed defender was asked to become the voice of the dressing room. 6 months in his tenure, he became Manchester United's captain. Not because he was the loudest, but because the club needed someone, or in fact, the club needed anyone to be the leader. And that's where the story starts turning, because Harry Maguire wasn't the only one who was failing here. The entire club was failing. Of course he was failing, but the entire system was broken and someone had to take the blame. And who was the blame rightfully put so? It was Harry Maguire. Sometimes when I think about it, when I use the word rightfully put, even I am guilty of it. You always look at the captain and say, is he responsible for doing enough? And Harry Maguire's form wasn't the greatest, but he was nowhere supposed to be blamed for almost everything which happened at Manchester United on the football pitch. There is a line in football between criticism and cruelty. And somewhere down the line, I think a lot of fans cross that line. Because Harry Maguire made mistakes, absolutely. Was he responsible for many goals which we consider at that point of time? 100% yes. But what followed is something which I do not believe should happen to any human being, let alone a footballer. Because something else happened. He received more than 80,000 abusive messages in social media. Some of them even sent letter to his own home. They were booed by his local fans. Manchester United fans also booed Harry Maguire. He became a meme. He was mocked by rival fans. Even neutral fans joined in. He was targeted. And this is where most careers end. Because people forget that football is not just a physical sport. It is a mental sport. It is a psychological sport. And confidence doesn't drop slowly. It collapses. You could visibly see on Harry Maguire that he was so overweighted by all these kind of abuses and all the comments from the pundits that he could no longer do what he was supposed to do, which is to just play the game and not worry about anything what is happening around here. And to make matters worse, Manchester United weren't doing well. Virgil van Dijk was starting to do well and he in fact became one of the best centre backs in the league. But every comparison suddenly became, oh, Manchester United paid 80 million for Harry Maguire, but he's unfortunately crap. While Liverpool paid 75 million for Virgil van Dijk and he's possibly one of the best defenders in the world. Now, no one is saying that Virgil van Dijk and Harry Maguire shouldn't be compared. Of course, they should be compared because of the same position what they play in. And both are elite in their own sense. And Virgil van Dijk is slightly more elite in many other aspects in world of football. But what we are trying to say here is very simple. Harry Maguire is still a human being and they can make mistakes. But the price for that mistake can't be 80,000 abuses. Now imagine this moment. You are not wanted by your own club. Your fans don't want you. Your neutral fans are making you a joke. Rival fans anyways mocks you. The pressure becomes so much that the current Manchester United manager finally looks at Harry Maguire and says, I think it is time for you to leave. And in fact, the club even agreed a sale with West Ham for 35 million. And Harry Maguire decided to say, no, I'm not leaving. Now this created a lot of issues for fans and Harry Maguire because some section of fans believe that, oh, he's on a high wage contract. Why will he leave and take a wage cut? But this was not the case. Harry Maguire rejected the move and he in fact spoke to the then manager Erik ten Hag saying that he needs 6 months of time. And in 6 months of time, if he does not perform to the level of Manchester United, he'll happily go. And in fact, he will even reduce his wage. When he rejected the move, that was the decision which told everyone about who is Harry Maguire. But fans being fans, they never understood that because he didn't just decide to stay at the club. He decided to play with fire. He decided to stay in the fire when everything alongside him was getting burnt. Why? Because he understood something brutal about football. Once you step down, you rarely step back up. It is something which signifies Harry Maguire and his career to perfection that when nothing goes right, Harry Maguire is the guy who you look around and say, you know what, I think you can do a job for us and he will pull you out of the mess at that point of time. So Harry Maguire just didn't fight back. There was no interviews, there was no drama, no excuses, no certain brother or sister standing in the stands and say, give him a chance. Nothing of that nature. There was pure silence. And in football, I always say that silence is the most powerful strategy what you can do as a player. Because while everyone else talk, you keep working hard. You keep your head down and you start working and the manager and the players eventually start seeing you. What happened during the time when he was silent? He improved his fitness management. He went to Dubai and started training in the summers when everyone else took a holiday. He started working exclusively on his fitness. He started working exclusively on his ability to read corners. He started training with multiple different defenders. He stopped playing being injured. He started focusing on his strengths. He started defending very deep. He started winning duels. In fact, it became so much of importance for Manchester United that suddenly he became the presence in the 4 centre-back lineup when we were playing. Slowly and steadily, the narrative around Harry Maguire started changing. It wasn't loud, it was quiet. It was the kind of quiet nature which defines Harry Maguire, which is, I am a boy from Sheffield. No one actually rates me to become a professional footballer. So what? I'll keep working hard. Slowly and steadily, I'll make my way up and eventually I'll play for Manchester United. That's exactly the story of Harry Maguire, which a lot of people don't want to accept or don't want to believe. Today, Harry Maguire is one of the most important linchpins in Manchester United's defense. You would have read his recent interview where he credited Ruben Amorim for his exceptional understanding of the game and tactics and how it helped Harry Maguire. But the real difference of Harry Maguire compared to last season and this season can certainly be attributed to Michael Carrick. Because Michael Carrick started playing a system which suited him and Michael Carrick actually started doing something which no other manager ever has done to Harry Maguire, which is to trust him. Now you have to understand that as someone who's lost form, place, his questions about him being included for England, he needed a little bit of confidence. Right now, Michael Carrick just showed him that little bit of faith. He put his arm around Harry Maguire and said, don't worry, you are still my main centre-back. And look at what has happened to Harry Maguire this season. He is the same player. He looks absolutely different. Not because he changed, because the context around him changed. Against teams like Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, where he scored the winner, he was dominant. Aerially unbeatable, positionally most intelligent player, extremely calm under pressure, and something even more interesting happened. Fans started respecting him again. Old Trafford started singing Harry Maguire's chant, not because he demanded it, because he earned it back. And he earned it back in a way which no one can ever take it again. Right now, if you are a Manchester United fan and you ask who are your preferred centre backs, you will always say Lenny Euro, Aiden Heaven. I would not trust them so much because they are young. Lenny Euro, Harry Maguire, good. Harry Maguire, Aiden Heaven, very good. Matthias de Ligt, Harry Maguire, excellent. Martinez, Harry Maguire, excellent. Martinez de Ligt, I'm not so sure. Now, if you look at the combinations, what I mentioned, right? Harry Maguire is what gives you confidence. Rewind 3 years back. Harry Maguire playing was a disaster for us. Almost everyone started saying, oh my god, Harry Maguire plays today. I don't know what meme is going to come out of the game. There was no trust on the player. And right now, that narrative has entirely changed because, like I said, the context has completely changed around Harry Maguire. So what has actually happened and what people don't understand is very simple. Harry Maguire was just not a bad player. He was always a misused player. He was put in a system that exposed his strengths more than exposing his weaknesses. When you expose one player's strength far too much, your weaknesses become very obvious. Good managers or great managers are the ones where they put in a system where they close their weaknesses, but they also don't let the strengths outweigh the weaknesses. Because Manchester United under Eric Ten Hag suddenly started playing an extremely high line. They started having too much space behind. There was too much responsibility on Harry Maguire. But when you look at the right system, which is what Steve Hall and Michael Carrick are doing right now, he's exactly what he's always been. A box defender, a leader, a problem solver, a guide to young players. Because when you see sometimes, he will be looking at Lenny Euro and saying, that's your man, mark him, I'm here. Alright, sometimes Harry Maguire also looks at Luke Shaw and shouts at him and asks him to track back. Now this is the Harry Maguire who did a great job for England when Kieran Trippier was on the wings on the other side, or he was asking the midfielders to start dropping deep. Now what makes Harry Maguire so unique in this position is that he doesn't have a lot of strength. If you look at modern day centre backs, a lot of them are ball playing, a lot of them have a great understanding of the game, so on and so forth. What Harry Maguire has compared to all the defenders in the world is grit, is determination. Harry Maguire will not let anyone pass through until and unless they are rapid quick. He will fight for every ball. He will fight for every 50-50 challenges. May not be 100% successful, but that's the nature of the beast, right? As a centre back, you are going to lose more often than what you're going to win. But this is something I want to say to fans who are actually Manchester United fans and want to see Harry Maguire. Right now, Harry Maguire is being offered a 2-year deal, and there is no one more happier than me to actually think and say, yeah, he deserves it. He deserves every bit of it. And in fact, I'll go on to this and say, if Harry Maguire stays fit and continues the way how he plays, he could be one of the most important players for England. Even though Thomas Tuchel right now would have said, no, I think Konza is better, I think Chalobah is better. But that's exactly what happens with England and the national team, right? Every time there is a problem, they look at the bench and say, who can fix it for me? And there is only one man who always fixes it for them. And that is going to be Harry Maguire yet again. The beauty of football is actually that football loves redemption stories. Football loves a little bit of drama. But Harry Maguire's story isn't one of them. Because redemption means you leave behind something and you start something new. You can see the examples of Hardik Pandya and his redemption story, right? Where what he was is not what he is today. But look at Harry Maguire. It's not that. Harry Maguire doesn't have a redemption story because he stayed the same. While the world changed its opinion, and maybe that's the real lesson, right? Sometimes redemption stories is not always about being who you are and being actually who you change to. In a game where it's obsessed with talent, it's obsessed with prodigal stories, the rarest quality isn't skill. The rarest quality is resilience. And my God, there is no one who's more resilient than Harry Maguire, because when I look back and think about it, 80,000 messages, online abuses, your own fans booing you, there is no reason why he should be subjected to that and face it on a daily basis. But to stand still, fight for it and make a name for himself and establish a place all around for you, that's resilience, that's grit. If you had to sum up Harry Maguire's entire Manchester United career in one word, I would always use the word integrity. Because there is no one more integral than Harry Maguire. There is no one more honest than Harry Maguire, who did a job for this Manchester United football club. So next time when you see Harry Maguire on the pitch, don't just see the player, see the man who survived football at its worst and still stood there fighting for your badge. In fact, he fought so hard that right now Manchester United cannot imagine a defense without Harry Maguire. And out of all the list of positions and priorities what you need, you are going to look into the market and say, I need a centre back who's as gritty, as determined as Harry Maguire, because when he leaves, okay, in a couple of years time, there's going to be a big massive hole. I really hope you like this video. If you've enjoyed it, like, share, subscribe, drop in a comment and help us reach more people who haven't followed PN Playbook. Thank you for watching.